Welcome to the Property Podcast. Namhlanje siphethe uSbo from the Rise and Rock Kwinada FM. Hi Sbo. Njani?
Hey, Rose Gunjani.
Siphilile khona.
I'm glad to be here.
You are?
Yeah, but ngiyathukile kancane because there's cameras and
It's just me, Sbo. Look at me. Eye contact. Breathe.
when we do this on air, as well, camera.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, but it's nice to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming through. I hope we get to do this more often because I think we
I
bring the
would
information
love
and the
to.
vibe,
I would love to.
right?
Yeah, it's a great environment.
Cool. Yeah, today we're talking about a story that happened in Mpumalanga. I didn't know that things happen in Mpumalanga, but when it comes to property and land-related issues, get a lot of stories from that side. This is what happened. This is Sonja. I'm going to call her name because out there, it's a news article.
Right.
She bought a piece of land from Ubabti. I'm trying to accommodate you here because
Okay.
Thobejane is going to be difficult for you.
All
But
right.
she bought a property from Ubab Thobejane,
Okay.
800,000. No. The property was actually 1.1 million. That is the asking price.
A whole lot of money, eh?
It is a whole lot of
Yeah.
money. She put in the offer to purchase and it was accepted at 1.1 million, like I said. She
Okay.
had 800,000 rands cash. Yeah. She had money.
Usisi.
Yes.
So Usisi, lo othenga property.
Yes.
Ukhokha 800 rand
No,
cash.
800,000 more. Keep up.
800,000 rands.
Yes. Cash to buy the property.
Awusisunemali.
So normal, but it just shows Usisi was prepared to buy the
Okay.
property. So she did have 800,000 rands waiting to be paid to Bab Thobejane.
All right.
She pays the money into not the account of Bab Thobejane. See, Sonja watched a lot of my content, so she knew not to pay the money into the account of Bab Thobejane. She
Yeah.
paid the money into the account of a conveyancer,
Oh, okay.
Bab Thobejane. Right.
All right.
So the money sits on the conveyancer's trust account, interest-bearing account, I would imagine.
Right.
And they negotiate. Negotiation, bayavumelana ukuthi uSisonja lo, together with her husband, they're gonna move into the property. And they do move into the property. Xa befika, isimo se-property is not make sure. So
Okay.
they start renovating. They did a lot of things. I had to write them down. They fixed electricity. They fixed plumbing. They fixed water tanks. They fixed septic tanks. They built outdoor buildings. They added an outdoor building. They even
Right.
fixed
You lie.
pigsty. Yes.
Pigsty?
Yes, they
You
fixed.
lie.
Yeah. They even fixed the pigsty
That's
on the
nice.
farm.
I mean, Usisi, obviously, Usisi is moneyed.
Yes.
But
Or prepared.
prepared.
Yes.
I would like to know ukuthi Usisi mali uyithatha kuphi?
Usisiyaphangela and then usisi saved up. Also, abanye abantu banayo imali.
Yeah.
Yes, so she saved up, I think. She was prepared. We don't know how old she is, but it is clear that this is something that she had been preparing for. She was well prepared for the purchase.
What was she buying this property for?
I think it's a farm, so she just was buying it to move into the
Okay.
property, ahlale the family yakhe, and just live a good life, which she did. But then it gets more interesting. She buys the property in 800,000 rand, and she's owing it 300,000 rand kaloku because property is
Okay.
1.1 years.
So there's an outstanding amount.
There's an outstanding
Fanele
amount,
ayikhokhe,
yes.
right, okay.
But because walungisa ne pigsty, she can't immediately pay the amount.
ne?
So she asked for an extension. She's like, can I extend and pay you by the end of May the remaining 300,000
Right.
rands? Bab Thobejane is like, okay, that's cool. You can pay whenever you're ready. Right. And she actually settles the amount before that period that they had agreed upon. She pays the 300,000. Like I said, usisilo prepared, usisilo unemali.
Sabona Usisi Sonja.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bawela okwam. But Bab Thobejane starts doing funny things.
Yeah.
She refuses to give documents to the conveyancer. No, he. Bab Thobejane is a he. He's a
Okay.
he.
All right.
Anyways, he refuses to now submit documents because he is supposed to submit documents to a conveyancer to make sure kaloku the process goes through.
To register umhlaba or the property under igama
Kasis
likaSisi.
Thobejane.
Sisu Sonja,
Sonja
right?
Thobejane, yes. So
I
yeah,
get it. So Sonja, useyikhokhile the outstanding amount.
yes, 300,000.
And then now ingxaki kuphi ke?
Thobejane uthi yena akasathanda ukuthengisa iproperty yakhe. Uthi uchatile, he's married, and he needs to discuss the issue with his wife before he can now go forward with the transfer.
Ubekuphi wife kade kudayiselwana umhlaba vele from the get go. Ubekuphi wife.
That's also interesting,
Right.
because it turns out when he was asked, when you're filling in documents, you know you have to sign and tick boxes.
Right.
He ticked a box. Sometimes I tick white on the box of erase. So I understand.
Really? Do you really do that?
No, but I'm Rose Ginya.
Yeah.
If you are not black, you'll read that and think Ginya or whatever.
Okay.
And I have this idea that sometimes you get opportunities because people think you look a certain
right.
way. So I will tick sometimes non-black.
Right.
Just to see if it's going to give. We're not there. My point is, I get Ubab Thobejane to an extent, because when he was asked on the box to tick whether or not he was married,
Okay.
he ticked unmarried. So
singile.
utsho njalo yena. But it could be that ukhona umuntu ahlekisana naye. It's just that, like me, he decided to not tick the box.
What do you mean, like you?
Like the way I
Phela
tick
ungatshadanga
non-black.
and usingile as far as I know. So.
We're not talking about that. Focus. We're talking about Ubab Thobejane.
Right.
Anyways, Ubab Thobejane says that he is single.
Yeah.
He ticked that box when he was signing all his documents.
Okay.
Now, the question is, why would you say you are single and then refuse to go forward with the transfer, and say the reason why you don't want to move forward with the transfer is because you want to discuss the issue with your wife? Yabo?
Yeah.
This is the point ke ngoku apho xambuliswana. It's a back and forth between Ubab Thobejane and attorneys and Sonja. Sonja kaloku is frustrated. Remember the money that she put into the property, renovating, building outside buildings, electricity, plumbing, all those things that I already mentioned.
Useinvestile already.
Useke investile kwi-property, yes. So ngoku uThobejane xa esithi yena, I don't want to sell anymore. Sonja is like, kanjani manje? What do you mean you're not going to sell? Because, I put everything I had into this. You can imagine, Gucci, all her savings were put into buying the property and then renovating. And there are other things that she may have done, improvements on the property, that you can't put a financial value kuzo. Let's say kubizwe property valuer to come in and look at the property as a whole and look at everything that's been done and say this is how much the property is worth now based on the improvements that Sonja has made. Let's say that happens. There's still going to be things that Sonja would have done that you can't put monetary value to.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I get you, but I want you to rewind back kancane. Sonja labukeka njengomuntu olandele yonke imithetho noma imigudu ngesikhathi ethenga le property. But angifuni ukumshaya izandla yena kuphela. Engathi it's all good. I think mhlambe ibalekile is to educate us ukuthi yini mhlambe into ekumele ukuthi uyenze. First, maybe something to consider uma uzothenga iproperty, because now I feel like Sonja uthengile le property, she moved in, she started renovating, but I think there's something missing because umhlaba or iproperty akaka register under igama lakhe Sonja.
Yes.
So I think maybe she was reckless lapho ekuthenini afike athenga umhlaba angene renovate, but still umhlaba
ungekabi segameni lakhe. Yes.
So ithini i-procedure mangabe umuntu maybe uthenga umhlaba, is there any time frame or mhlambe into ethi awuvumelekile ukwenza so and so kulo mhlaba until mhlambe uregister under your name or into kanjalo?
My understanding is this: when it comes to property, every transaction is different. So it's always between the seller and the buyer, what they agree on. So in this particular case, they agreed on Sonja moving into the property.
Okay.
So usually if a person moves into the property before the property has been transferred, yabo, what they have to do is pay what we call occupational rent.
Right.
So there's an agreement between the buyer and the seller. The buyer moves in before time, but then pays occupational rent towards the seller, which is only fair because the seller is still the person that's liable for the rates, that's just responsible for the property because it's still in their name. But in this case, I didn't see a mention of the occupational rent. Like I said, every transaction is different. So I'm not sure of the exact agreement they had before Usis Sonja moved into the property. Yabo. But yeah, it's just every transaction is different. I agree with you. To an extent, I think it was a bit reckless to move into a property. She was too trusting. But she was trusting because I think to an extent, she's also backed by documents. Right, because remember, there's documents, agreement that they signed, and there's also a conveyancer involved. She knows ukuthi imali yakhe is not with the Thobejane, imali yakhe is with the conveyancer. So until the transfer happens, the money doesn't go to Thobejane. But in any case, Thobejane wasn't discussing ukuthi imali should go back to Sonja. He was just saying, I'm no longer selling.
I'm no longer interested.
I'm no longer interested.
Because angikhulumanga
nonkosikazi wami. Unkosikazi usinganayo proof
Does
ukuthi
this
uyexist.
marriage even exist? Like, I'm curious because akaveli ndawo unkosikazi up until Mr. Thobejane decides not to sell the land or he wants his land back.
Yes.
So uvela lapho unkosikazi.
And then usisonja kaloku udikiwe yiyo yonke lento, and then she goes to a court, a high court of Mpumalanga. So this is why it's important to sign documents, to do things properly, to sign your agreements and all of that. It's you can't predict how people are going to act. You can't predict ukuthi people are acting in good or bad faith. But if you have a documentation, you follow to an extent a procedure, then you have it backing when you go to a court. So this worked in her favor. When she went to a high court, Umanki wabuza the same thing that you're asking. Is it Umanki? No, I don't think Umanki. A judge.
The judge, yeah.
I think it's a judge, a high court. Anyways, lo muntu obephethe court ngela inkosi enkantolo. I think it's Sulu's right. Because inkosi enkantolo.
Yeah, right.
Inkosi enkantolo looked at this, was like, okay, please provide us with the proof of the marriage you speak of. Please provide us. Yes, tell us, show us that there is a wife in the picture. Akayibonisanga proof ukuthi there is a wife in the picture. That's first of all. And secondly, uyabuya kumantu buza. I keep saying umantu. Inkosi enkantolo.
Yeah.
Asking the same question. Why did you tick single when you were signing documents? I mean, there's multiple times where you have to tick single or married. Why did you tick single if you are in fact married?
Yes.
There was no answer to that question either. So I don't know, maybe it's a girlfriend that's made up, maybe it's a wife that's made up, but you couldn't produce a proof of the wife. And then also important to note is the judge ruled obviously in favor, not obviously, because law is not always obvious. Common sense in the law. Yeah. They don't always line up. But that's why we need judges then to make judgments in these situations.
Ngiyafisa ukwazi ukuthi yini eyenza oyashintsha umqondo ka Mr. Thobejane ekuthenini sasayidayisa iland or mhlambe ijealousy wabone ngathi usumuhle manje mangabe ungasekho kuyena mhlawumbe wabona ivalue yawo. But also I think on that article, because I saw it, I think ukuthi khona la mention akhona Mr. Thobejane ukuthi akasekho interested, so usefuna back umhlaba wakhe. I think mhlambe nanokuthi wathi futhi wabone ngathi if wayidayisa ngemali encane kakhulu.
Uxhophekile, yeah.
Uxhophekile.
But no one was pointing a gun in Tloko yakhe to say, hey, sell the property. And it does happen. Sometimes property owners get overwhelmed. I mean, there's a lot to do taking care of your property. If even your pigsty, I'll keep referring to the pigsty. If you can't even take care of your pigsty, how are you going to fix your plumbing, your septic tanks, your water tanks, all of those things? Because the property needs to be maintained. I don't think maybe if they just installed a solar system or something. I don't know. It doesn't say. I don't want to.
They fixed. Okay,
I don't know.
They fixed a man.
Yes, even with amanzi, it could be that the fixing of amanzi means they installed water tanks, not
Okay.
necessarily that ebewarobile namanzi. Ayarobheka amanzi.
Yes.
Okay,
I don't
you would know.
meter, you know.
How do
when
you know?
municipality comes for you, how I know these things, Pela. Ngiyahlala emalokishini, so I see things every day.
But okay,
I know these
I
things.
think thinking these things only happen elokishini is where we go wrong. Ziyenzeka nasedolobheni.
Everywhere.
They
Everywhere.
do
If you
happen.
go to town, kunama-flexi where you will get ukuthi mhlawumbe ugesi abawukhokheli or
Yes.
amanzi abawukhokheli. So
Yeah.
izinto ezenzeka everywhere. Nasemakhaya, in rural areas,
Yeah.
these things happen. And sengene emakhaya nama-meter amanzi. So it's crazy.
Yeah, but what I was getting at is it gets overwhelming as a property owner sometimes. You find Uguti, maybe he was also still paying a bond. So you add all those things up, they add up. And so he felt like he had to sell. Again, when you want to sell your property, you can, of course, call an estate agent to come and value your property and see what it's going to sell for. But you can check a municipal valuation roll
Yeah.
where Maspala gives an indication of what they think the property is worth. Right. But it's usually undervalued. So when you check only the municipal valuation roll, it usually undervalues the property. I don't know if there's other municipalities that will overvalue the property, but I know Lowe Tekuna Mapetelu Maspala will undervalue the property. Or you
Yeah.
can just call a property valuer. Of course, you'll have to pay the consultation fee for the property
Maybe
valuer to
inkinga
come.
inokhokha ke. Because you don't want to pay.
But it's a property, it's worth at least 1.1 million. And I'm sure Gucci chances are he was asking for more than 1.1 million. Usually each seller will ask for more money and they usually end up settling for less than what they ask for.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So he had some idea of how much he wanted for the property. And the 1.1 million, let's say in a 5,000 rand a consultation, I'm not saying it's 5,000 rand to consult a valuer, but I would imagine it's not that
That
expensive. Yes, I mean, I don't know. I think it depends on what exactly the valuation is about and all of those things.
Thank you so much for schooling us, because I think in the way land the property balekile, and I feel like us as South Africans, asikafundiseki kakhulu ngako, you know, we lack information makuza kwi land and property. Hence we have that segment on the show.
Yes.
But now back to uDabulukasi uSonja. What if uSonja akakhokhanga directly
Conveyancer, yes.
conveyancer? Mhlawumbe wakhokhela uMr Thobejane directly. Bekuzokwenzakalani mase sekuyiswa necourt?
Kwakhona Londo would depend, but a court, the conversation would now be different because Sonja goes to court to ask to force Thobejane to produce the documents that are necessary to have the property transferred from Thobejane to Sonja. That's why Sonja court. Now this would be a case of either Sonja goes to court to say, "Hey Thobejane, bring me back my money," or uyamfosta ke kwakhona. It would be two possibilities. Either she's asking for her money back, or she is, which I don't think she would ask for her money back. She's invested so much into the property. And that's one of the things that the judge looked at. We could say there's so much that has gone into this property now that this lady has invested. But it would have worked against her shame.
You know, in frustrated kakhulu kulesi story lesi.
Uh-huh.
And it frustrated kakhulu ukuthi senzeka ngempela. So
Yes.
it's something that is happening.
We didn't make it up.
You see, Mr. Thobejane ufike wadayisa this property ngo 1.1 million.
Yes.
So let me just mhlawumbe try to summarize it. Khona ezobona mhlawumbe nomukele ekhaya ukuthi yini le frustrated ngakho. So one.
Yathanda ukufrustrate.
No, but
okay.
it can never happen, you know. This is not right, to be honest. Firstly, uqala accepta imali engu 800,000 rand.
But it was paid to the conveyancer's account.
But it's okay.
Yes, but he agreed to that.
Exactly,
yes,
because obviously he had to sign some papers.
Yes,
Yabo.
to agree with it.
And then ukhokhiwe 800,000 rands usukhona. Kusho ukuthi ke manje uyasho ukuthi okay, sisi uSonja, you can now have the property. Then the outstanding amount of 300,000 rands uzokhokha uma usunayo imali. Obviously ke umuva in usisi uSonja ama-renovations omhlaba.
Awomhlaba.
Hayi epicsty ngizayibayo. That's as a cherry on top. And then after all this is done, okay, the outstanding amount usisu Sonja. Kusho ukuthi manje we are done, we are settled.
Yes.
Useyiqedile uyikhokha imali yakho. Now I fully own this property.
Yeah. Not own, you don't own. You have paid for the property. Yes, but you don't own it. No.
Yeah.
Until it's
okay, now
transferred
the
to your
property
name.
is fully paid.
For, yes.
Okay. Now sekumele ukuthi uregister ke phela ubiza igama lami njengoba ngumdunge nje sekufanele ithi lapha ephepheni Mdunge ne.
Yes.
Wena njengoba waginya nje ngihlala endaweni ethi Ginya kushuthi mina title deed ithi Ginya.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate and say,
Right.
like I said, mentioned, maybe he was overwhelmed. And so he didn't get proper advice in terms of giving the land or the property value appropriate. And now he just felt like, no, man, I have been prejudiced.
Yeah.
I should have gotten more for my property.
But this is crazy. Let's just say Usisu Sonja decides to give back a property ku Mr. Thobejane. Lo ngachaza ukuthi mhlambe usiyamkweleda yini seku Mr. Thobejane ukweleda uSisu Sonja.
I would imagine that, but again, it court to decide whether Thobejane has to now pay Sonja for the improvements, which I think would be fair. Because Sonja has improved the property, has increased the value.
Damage.
Yes.
On top of that, yes, Rose, now I've bought a land, I'm settled.
You've moved your family.
You know my family.
You've taken your dogs. You've cancelled your lease agreements.
Now I'm in a trauma, emotionally.
Trauma yani,
Ngilimele, you know?
Trauma yani.
Nenesidima sami emphakathini.
But they watch you pack up and go to move into your new property, and then you have to be seen again packing up and leaving that property.
And it's the other way around.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but that's why we have courts, that's why we have judges, and that's why when we do things, we record everything, we write things down, we sign the agreements that we have. We don't just have verbal agreements. We make sure that the agreements are actually written down and so that everything can be proved. Because had, for an example, Bab Thobejane proved a court to go to unkosikazi yena actually exists. I'm making an example. Maybe it could,
believe me.
But it could also said something important to go to, even if unkosikazi bekhona, even if there was actually a wife, the law says that when, as the husband, you have sold the property, and therefore the sale would have still had to go through regardless of whether or not the wife was actually there, which I think is very important. So don't think you can enter into a bad deal and use your wife as an excuse. I know Guti, they are changing a lot, but you can't use as an excuse when you now think that the deal is not working in your favor.
I have a different theory. Ngayo yonke le ndlela. I think ukuthi Mr. Thobejane mhlawumbe udayisa umhlaba ongabelongi kuyena entirely, maybe umhlaba owe family.
But why was the comment like yet? Because remember, there's a conveyancer involved. The conveyancer would have flagged anything that would have pointed to the effect of Ukuti. Thobejane doesn't have rights to give you ownership of this land to.
But kungenzeka uthola ukuthi umhlaba bokwabazali bakho Rose, abazali bakho babhale ngawe, and then now nama-siblings wakini adependele kuwena. I'm just making an example. And then you decide to sell umhlaba or a property, but now you get to realize ukuthi awudayisanga nje umhlaba kuphela, but you've caused damage also with family yonke now.
But okay, I get that. Why would you wait an entire year to raise those issues up? Because it's 2022 when they first enter into the agreement, purchase agreement, sale agreement, when Sonja puts the offer to purchase. And then a year later, it's like a 800,000. It took you a year to realize. It depends on who you ask. Yes, come now in it, but it really depends who you ask. For some people, 800,000, it's just something they can save up and pay cash when they need to buy property.
Ooh,
yeah.
This is crazy.
But I think it concludes our today's episode. What do you think? Do you have anything else?
I think so. But before maybe we close it off, can you just take us through the process? I feel like I'm an interviewer now.
Okay.
You know?
The process of buying a property.
Of buying a property. Ngendlela efanelekile. You know, mhlampe mozolandela yonke i-procedure. I understand ukuthi mhlampe
An
kwesinye isikhathi-
ideal situation kind of thing.
So for umuntu ofuna ukuthenga i-property rules, alandele i-procedure ephelele.
Okay.
I know maybe ngaba kubuye ngathi kuningi, but I think it's important to make sure that you follow all the
procedures.
More especially mangabu into ethinta iland nje ngoba iland iyaxabanisa ngithi namanje kusaliwa kubanga umhlaba.
Yes.
So yiphi procedure elandelayo?
Okay, first of all, usually the first person that you're going to come across is going to be your estate agent, right?
Okay.
They're now called property practitioners.
All
So
right.
that's going to be the person that's going to be selling you the property, right? You look at the property, you inspect the property physically. You need to make sure, good team, physically everything is fine, structurally it's sound.
Okay.
You do what most people fail to do. You inspect it, I will say administratively. I don't know if that is the word that I should be using, but you check the admin of it. Is this built according to building plans? Ask for the building plans from the owner.
Okay.
Are there any encroachments? Land surveyors. Are there any encroachments on the property? These are not things that you will physically see, but you can get documents that will verify there's no encroachments. The building plans have been approved. You can look at the plans now. I mean, you don't need to be an architectural professional to be able to see that the building matches the building plans. You can always ask someone to come for an hour and have a look at that property to assess if the building plans match the building or the building matches the building plans.
Right.
Right, you've done that. You've done your due diligence. And I'm assuming you're buying a standalone house, because if you're buying a flat or a sectional title scheme, it will be a completely different process. And I don't want to get into that because I don't want it to be too confusing.
All right.
Okay, so you've checked, you've done this check, you know, kuti plumbing yalapa right, there are no leaks. Just check for the basics. Check for new paint coatings and try and find out what the issue was with that. Why is it painted? Why did you put a new coating? They will say, no, it's because we just wanted it to look fresh. Okay, this will help you at a later stage. Because if they have covered, let's say there was a leak and they cover it,
Right.
you ask, okay, what happened here? They're like, oh, no, we just wanted it to look fresh. Fine. At a later stage, when you see a leak at that exact spot, you now have proof that they covered something.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing the inspections for. And then you sign the agreement, the sale agreement. You check what you are buying. Something that isn't on that sale agreement, you're not buying. If it doesn't say it comes with this chair, you're not buying this chair. If it's not saying Guti, you're buying this mic is not coming. You're going to be buying a property that doesn't have the chair and the mic. It reminds me when we were growing up, we used to do fridges. See fridge and think Guti, you buy fridge and no. You just buy the property as it is. So if it's not on the sale agreement, if it's not listed on the items, if you need to know what you are buying, and it should be written down exactly what you are buying. Cool. You sign the sale agreement. Estate agent takes that sale agreement. You by present to owner. All good. Now, usually, you would have applied for a bond. This is the process that you do even before you look for a property, in my opinion. You approach what do they call them? A bond originator. So you can approach a bank, but I prefer that you approach a bond originator. Because remember, a bond originator looks at different banks, right? So they take your profile and submit or ask different banks to give you different deals. And the bank with the best deal is the bank that's going to end up giving you a bond. But if you just go to your bank, they may not necessarily give you the best deal. And also, someone said something interesting. They said your bank knows your spending habits because you bank with them.
I remember when Konabang sent the message, this other bank, El Kalangotine.
Okay,
really?
Continue.
So, non-medical aid.
Okay. Oh, yes, okay.
Bang sent the message, it's not like Isiagu judge or what. Or they called me
Yes.
the following day. It's not like we are judging you or something, but ungayeka kancane ukusapha kuleya ndawo leyo. Ungayeka kancane ukusapha kuleya ndawo leyo, you know? I'm like, no, but nje bengithenga a cool drink.
So did you explain to them?
So I know it's fine. We don't judge you, but can you just slow down because I'm like, yo.
But
these
see,
people.
yeah, your bank knows your spending habits.
Yeah.
Because they know your spending habits. When they give you interest rate, because remember, that's how you look at the deal, whether it's a good deal or not for you. You look at the interest rate and the term and the administration fees. Some will say, we'll register the bond for free.
Okay.
Right? Or we'll give you a discount at the bond registration stage. All of those things. You look at which one gives you a better deal, and then you take that deal. So I said you do that process before you even buy. It will help you see how much you qualify for, so that you don't go around shopping for izindlu 4 million when you can only afford 1.5 million. You can do it, ukuhlamba mehlo, just that.
Yeah.
But you know when you look for the property, this is the property I can afford, and so you look for that property. So you already have a provisional finance from that bank. So take the agreement, the sale agreement, submit to the bank, and the bank will then approve the money being given. I'm assuming that we want loans. We don't have cash like Mrs. Sonja to pay it
I
cash.
have my boss.
Yes.
Yeah.
But remember, okay, even if you are getting the bond, you still need to have imali in most cases. Eyokubhatala attorney fees, bond registration, conveyancing fees. Right. Yes, you need to have that amount. And I think for my first property, it was about 40,000. This was, I would say, about 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, it was about 40,000. So now you do need to have that money in place to be able to pay the conveyancers. Now, depending on how much...
So 40,000 property no.
No. If 40,000 was to pay the conveyancers to register the property in my name. So as the person who's buying the property, you will be the person responsible for paying the conveyancers. And then the other money was for registering a bond. You pay to register a bond in your name, because the property is registered in your name at the deeds office together with a bond. It will be registered against that property now at the deeds office. So 2 sets of attorneys are paid. The attorneys that are going to register the bond and the attorneys that are going to register your property.
Oh,
it's not always the same. Yes,
it's a long process.
It's not that long. It's only 3 months more. Well, yeah.
Yes.
If you submit everything in time. And let's go back to your point. Your point is that you've got your money, you did save up enough, you are able to pay the conveyancers to do the transfer to your name, and you pay nothing to the buyer ever. But the buyer appoints conveyancers, not you. So what I would also just advise is when the seller, you the buyer kaloku wena.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
The seller appoints conveyancers, not you as the buyer. So I'd just say, when I get as a buyer, you might want to do a background check on the attorneys that are appointed to effect the sale, just to make sure and you can you can check the Law Society of South Africa. Is it the website? Check ukuthi ba registered.
Yeah.
But bank, when they do the transfer, when they go through the process of giving you the money, if you are buying through a bank, they won't give you imali by bhatale to a conveyancer who hasn't been verified.
It's just like unkosikazi kaThobejane.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes some people will say, well, it's safer to get a loan, just so that the bank, as people who are interested in the sale, will do some of these checks for you, so that you don't have to be hyper vigilant. Kodwa, even if you do get a bank to give you the bond, you still need to do your basic checks, like I said in the beginning, administrative checks. But at this point, when you've signed a sale agreement, a proper, and when you've saved your money and you've paid the money to the conveyancers for the bond registration and the conveyancers, you might have to pay 10% depending on how much the bank gives you. Let's say bank says, okay, a property is million, we will only finance 90%. So you need to have the other 100,000. But a lot of banks will give you 100% if you have a good credit score. So yeah, that is the process. It's signing the sale agreement. It is paying the attorneys, never paying to the seller, and making sure that at every stage you understand the documents that you are signing, and understanding that every sale, every transaction is different. I think that's all. Like I can't put it step by step by step by step, because you will have the attorney at the time that's guiding you. You will have an estate agent that's going to
Okay.
be part of
To
the
assist you
process
as well.
to kind of assist you. But it brings me to my other issue. The
Okay, not to
attorney
share-
is
yeah,
appointed by the seller.
All right.
The estate agent is appointed by the seller.
Okay.
As a buyer, you don't have a representative in this situation. That is why I say be vigilant. And this is why I say maybe it's better if you then get imali from a bank to buy the property, because a bank has
Zokwenza
to.
even a background check. and
Yes,
stuff.
they do have
Yeah.
interest, a vested interest in Abokule transactions. So
Oh,
now
yeah.
they may do some background checks. But there are some things they'll never check. And at the end of the day, even if a bank doesn't do proper checks, you will still be liable to pay those monthly installments.
Basically, if usakweleti ikhadi yaseyitolo
Ngathi ndiyabona ezo zesihlangu.
uyabona nje lezi hlangu zakho uma usayithatha ikhadi uqeda ungakhokhi ubaleke, you won't be able to purchase i-property because ngeke uzo-approve ndawo angithi you get it.
You're very unlikely.
Yeah, guys, it's so
But generally, as a person, just keep a nice credit score. I mean, if you can.
it's not so easy.
I
The
know,
economy
Scar.
rules. I understand, but I think into kumele ukuthi siyilwe day by day to maybe to increase our credit scores.
Yes.
Esikhokhele ama-accounts wethu on time.
Yes.
We can pay even extra to make sure that fast track.
I love how we've just moved from property, from Sonja, from Thobejane to now giving straight up financial advice. We're not financial advisors.
Yeah.
We're just
It's
property
just
advisors.
general knowledge. I mean,
Yes,
come on.
yeah.
So that we so was ukuthi mangabe sisi-applyela for ama-bond and stuff like that sikwazi uku-approve nathi, because us now cash just like abo sisonja abavele bakhokhe u-800,000 fast, quick, fast, about in a hurry, and I think but slowly but surely we will get there, but masafisa uku-owna i-land lesithi siyayifuna.
You just have to know your lane. So if you can afford indlu ye 300,000, that's what you're gonna buy. Ne? You don't have to one day 1.1 million Sonja. And you must also remember that you can ask a bond, you don't have to pay cash like hey. And there is the first home finance that people never take advantage of. If you earn between 3,500 rands, oh, this is too much information. Between 3,500 rands and 22,000, remember that you can still, if you have never bought a property, have never gotten a RDP house, you can still apply for that first home finance. It will assist you in paying your attorney fees, bond registration fees, and all those fees, or just putting a deposit towards the property that you want to buy. So it's money that's sitting there for us to apply for. So people should just apply for it. I don't know. I mean, into zikahulumende will take time sometimes to get approved.
But
and all of
ikhona
that.
la
But
nto.
yona ikhona imali, ihleli
Ilinde
phansi.
thina, ne?
Ilinde thina. And we're not gonna all get RDP houses. So let's apply for that money and then let it assist us in buying our properties.
But at least on this episode, Rose, angitholanga ukufunda about indaba yasisonja Mr. Thobejane kuphela. I got to also to learn about imali ihleli ilinde thina. Sola kancane. Well,
It's not to call 22,000.
afford it. I mean, but also we got to learn about ukuthenga i-property ukuthi mapha ama-steps or i-procedure kumele uyilandele. It's quite long ngizwile isikhathi uchaza, but I think it's worth it.
It is worth
Ekugcineni
it.
kosuku, because one mistake la kule procedure kwakhona ungakulandeli, you might lose even.
But you can get someone like myself,
Exactly.
a buyer's agent, where I'm going to be your agent, represent you at every step of the way of buying the property. Right, to make sure ukuthi awuqhothwa especially estate agent, because they have a mandate. Their mandate is to sell property. And I mean, it's very, in South Africa, I feel like, I don't know why it's not a must to go to, there should be a buyer's agent. Just to ensure that there isn't a conflict of interest. You can't trust the same person that's trying to sell the property to get you the best possible deal. Conflict of interest right there. Anyways, that's going to be episode for the next time.
Right. Thank you so much. I think I've learned a lot.
You have.
And also thank you so much for inviting me.
Are you going to
I'd love
come
to
next?
come back though.
You will.
Yeah, I will come back. Definitely.
We will ask if viewers, what do they think about having you permanently? I think you bring such a nice vibe.
Yeah, but sometimes on the show, you're completely being frustrated now.
No, it's not me. It's
I
the
hope
stories,
people
and
see-
I don't make them up. I read them online.
Yeah, only thing I'm frustrated because sometimes I get worked up very easily. I'm a freedom fighter.
This is why we don't get anywhere.
Not that the fighter.
Yes.
But essentially,
Freedom fighters.
spirits of fighting for the community.
But that's
I work for
good.
the community,
That's
so
good.
I'll fight for the community.
Yes.
So I get frustrated, maybe a community member kudlalwa ngaye or mhlawumbe eskemeka, more especially mabathenga property and stuff like that. But also sometimes uthola ukuthi abanye bebengenayo information. That is why we have this particular platform.
And I hope people enjoyed this episode, that they will like, subscribe, share, so that more people can get the exposure of this kind of information, so that we also get so that we get I'm trying. So that we can get
Exactly.
to make more of this content. Until next time, bye.